Okay, so we're going to replace the bushing, the collar, the seal on the balance shaft bearing carriers. I already did this one. New collar, new seal, and then I also did got the O-ring and then the bushing in the back. I wasn't real sure if I needed to do the bushing. Seemed pretty, I didn't feel any scratches or see anything on there, but I did buy new ones, so I thought, what the heck. My also concern was how to get them out and back in, but I already did that one and it wasn't too bad, so I'll walk you through the process. First, got to take the old seal out. It's pretty straightforward. Since we're replacing that collar, I'm not worried about scratching that. So you just take a screwdriver, stick it in here. See, not too bad. Now these seals are different on these two carriers. In fact, I had bought, I think, 2 different kits, 2 different times, and I have basically an extra seal. So I did, you've got one for each balance shaft. One's a 47 millimeter, the upper one to the left side, driver's side, and then the lower on this bigger carrier is a 48 millimeters. And depending on where you order the seals from, you get different parts numbers, and these are supposedly directional. They've got little arrows on here. This one's got an arrow. These two do not. I believe these are my main seal and camshaft seal, which I've already done the main seal, which is why I have an extra one, which took some figuring out. But my replacement upper, this one does have an arrow, so that's my new one here. But my replacement for the lower carrier never had an arrow, but it's the only seal that's 48 millimeters. And I read somewhere that the camshaft and the main seal are the same. So I think what happened between the multiple kits I got a head gasket reseal kit and a front engine main seal kit, and I think somehow there's a duplicate seal on here, because these are the same numbers, 601017, and like I said, 48 went on that one, and then this is the only other one with an arrow, and it's got the same numbers as the one going out. So I still need to do the camshaft seal, but I've already done the main seal, so somehow I got an extra one. So the seal sits in there, then the collar just sits in there straight, and then you've got the bushing. So I had to get I had one of these old cheaper style presses, but it's got a tapered edge on it, and you try to get it in there and you can move it a little bit, but it doesn't come all the way out. So I had to go buy a different kit. I was able to get this at AutoZone for about $35. I'll try to remember to put a link in there. It's a power built, and these are straight, they're perpendicular. So here's the old one. So you want one that goes in but then rests on the side. This one's actually seems a little small, too small. There, the one that's on the press. So this one, you can bang it out. So stick it in there. I'm going to heat it up and knock it out, and then I'm going to clean it up, heat it up again, and I've got the new one in the freezer right now. So on the bigger carrier, it's you can heat it up. Now it probably heats up the bearing as well, but I think the carrier heats up a little bit more, but it came out pretty easily, which you'll see here in a second. So I'll go ahead and hit this with a torch and then knock it out. There it is. Probably should have taken the rubber seal off before I hit it with the torch. Now go ahead and get this cleaned up, and then we'll get the new one in. Okay, hit it with a little bit of WD-40 and a brush, and then some brake clean. Get it cleaned up, looking pretty good. And just in case you're wondering, this is a 1 3/16 by 1 5/16 seal driver. So that fits, like I said, pretty nice and evenly on there. So I'm gonna hit this with a torch again, and then I'm gonna grab the bushing out of the freezer, and then we'll hit it in. Whoa, a little too hot, a little too cold. Didn't do that the first time. That's why I make it easy. Alright, starting to tighten up. And she's in. Your reseal kit, you should have 3 collars, one for each balance shaft and one for the camshaft. Okay, this thing's finally cool to the touch. We'll throw a little assembly lube on this thing. And I've got a couple PVC pipes I keep around, nice flat edge that I like to use for these as a makeshift seal driver. And she's in. You get the O-ring. Again, these come in the camshaft or the head reseal kit. 2 of them are the same and one of them is different. This is the cheesehead bolt for the cam and the seal on the back of the collar. You got the 3 onion skin seals in here. Forget about those. And whatever size is the one, looks like the one that goes on here. These are the same, so that one's different. So this one's for the cam. Now we can put our balance shafts on. So we need to put our bearings in first, the rear bearings. Now these are different on the 87. The front ones that I pressed in are the same, but the rear ones are different. They appear to be all the same, all 4 of them, so I grabbed 2. I'll go ahead and put those in the block. It looks relatively idiot proof. You line up the hole. Like such. That's not what I wanted. Almost forgot the rear cap. And I think I have a problem with these collars. So I had trouble getting the collar on the balance shaft, and so two of them fit on quite easily. No problem. But this third one, I had assumed, okay, maybe it's for the camshaft and it's slightly different. But I tried it on my new camshaft and it wouldn't go on it either. So I don't know if this one's defective. Actually, it goes on the old cam, but it will not go on the balance shafts, and it will not fit on the new cam either. It was even tighter. This one's worn, so it actually goes on. So go figure. Now they go on. Let me try the other one. Balance shaft. See, look how tight that is. That's the problem I had with the first one. I was thinking maybe these things were just slightly off. See, that sucker does not want to go on or come off now, for that matter, which is the problem I had. I was doing the first balance shaft. One of these, I may reuse the old one if it's not an easy exchange. They didn't really seem to be too worn, and neither were the balance shaft seals, for that matter. But they all came in the kit, so I thought I'd replace them. That one feels a little bit more worn. So maybe they were replaced at some point, but you can see the groove in them. So it's definitely a little bit worn. I can pull this one out real quick. Like I've said before, this car had 200,000 miles on it, so someone had done maintenance. These seals don't look that old, so maybe they were replaced. However, that does look pretty worn. Oh yeah, that's all grooved up. Alright, so we will not be reusing that. Just gotta figure out how to either get one of these new ones on it without getting it stuck, or possibly get a replacement. Okay, quick update. Got the making progress on this motor. We got the second balance shaft side on. It went a little bit smoother than the first one because I got the correct, I got a different collar I was having trouble with on this. There was an issue with that one. I actually called Pelican Parts. I had ordered it back in 17, and their warranty only goes for 2 years, but they looked at my order history and said, okay, yeah, we'll go ahead and send you a new one. So I got the new one in, and I had tried, two of them would basically fit on both balance shafts and the camshaft. The one I was having trouble with, the only one it would fit on was the old camshaft, and I have a new camshaft, so it didn't fit on that one. So it was slightly out of tolerance, so you definitely need to check your stuff. This was the second part I've had to send back. My main bearings were scratched, but Pelican also returned those for me. So they sent a new one out. It fits on the new camshaft, so no problem. Got the second balance shaft on, basically the same as the first. The carrier is a little bit bigger, but it goes on same. Be careful when you're torquing them down, because the torque specs and the bolt sequence is on two different pages in the manual, and you start in the middle, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you're basically bouncing back and forth between the M8s and the M6s, and there are different torques on those. And there's also different torque on the M10 stud bolts versus the M10 stud nuts. So pay attention to that. And then also it's listed in Newton meters and foot pounds. So I actually messed up and over torqued mine. I was using Newton meters and using my foot pounds on the wrench. So I actually backed it off and then redid it, but then when I redid it, I did it for the nuts and not the bolts, or the studs and not the bolts. Anyway, just take your time, write it down. I just went ahead and crossed out the Newton meters on my book because I only use the foot pounds. So just got the water pump on, pretty straightforward on that. I do it like a lot of people do. I don't use any gasket maker, just put it on dry, that's the way the manual says. I was missing, I think my old bolt kit was pretty worn, so I chucked it. I couldn't find it, but with this new block, I had some of the studs, some of the bolts were in good condition, but I didn't have all of them. I was missing the long stud and then a couple washers, so I went ahead and ordered another kit from Ian at 944 Online. I got that in a couple days.